Our two next speakers from DC CAP, Mr. Karthik Chidambaram. He invited us today to learn how you can streamline product inventory, pricing, customers, and product data across different channels to boost efficiencies and grow profitability. I think that's something that we really want to know how to grow profitably right now. So please welcome Mr. Karthik.
Yeah, hello everyone. I usually sleep during this time. I have an afternoon nap, but let's make sure everyone's awake, and that was a great presentation, David. So can I ask everybody to stand up, please, if you don't mind. All right, if there's somebody next to you, you can just say hello to them. All right, okay, that's cool. Masi. Thank you, Nandri. It's awesome to be here. This is my third time speaking in Meet Magento Indonesia at Jakarta. A big thanks to Mulyadi Gio and the SIRCLO team for putting together an amazing event. Really excited to be here and also excited to meet everybody. Thank you for coming. And let's try to make this session interactive. And maybe we'll also have a small quiz. I'll ask some questions and we'll see who gets the answer. By show of hands, anybody knows who are these three gentlemen in the picture? Have you guys seen these three people? Anybody knows? Yeah? No? Okay. I'll give you a clue. They also won the Nobel Prize in the year 1956. No? Okay. Cool. I wouldn't know either. I just did some research for this session. Again, the three people you see in the picture are William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Brad. These three people won the Nobel Prize in the year 1956, and they are the inventors of the transistor. The transistor, as you know, is one of the basic building blocks of modern electronics, and it helps amplify electrical signals and also amplify or switch electrical signals and power. This invention changed the world. Because the transistor was invented, there were a lot of further inventions possible. The person in the middle, William Shockley, is a great scientist. And all these three people work for a company called Bell Labs. And Bell Labs was a great ecosystem to be in. And as they say, you got to be in the right ecosystem and community for inventions to happen. William Shockley was a great inventor, but he was not a great manager. People really did not like so much working for him. So he eventually left Bell Labs and founded his own company called Shockley Semiconductor. And at Shockley Semiconductor, he hired these two gentlemen. By show of hands, another quiz question. Does anybody know who these two people are in the picture? All right, these are tough questions. I understand. So these two people were hired by William Shockley. One guy is Robert Noyce, and the other person is Gordon Moore. They used to work at the Shockley Semiconductor, but like I said, William Shockley was not a great manager, so these two people did not like working for William Shockley, and they said, hey, we're going to start our own company. And like we saw, because the transistor was invented already, it paved way for further inventions. So these two people, Gordon Moore is also the inventor of the Moore's Law. They started a very large corporation today, which is Intel. Intel Corporation was started by these two people. And Andy Grove joined them along. As we know, Andy Grove is a great manager and also the author of the book, High Output Management. And these three people together changed the way we work today. And because of all these inventions, we are benefiting from the digital revolution, and all of us have phones in our wallet, and some of us are also using that right now, and we are able to change the way we work. And that's been really, really significant. Transistor, Intel, and further. All this got me to think, because commerce is very much, or e-commerce is very much digital today. So this history teaches you a lot of things. And when you read a little bit of history, you also understand, they say history repeats itself. So I was just doing some research on commerce. When was commerce invented? This was the question I was asking myself, and I was doing a little bit of research, and I bumped into an article which talked about 7 days in a week. Why do we have 7 days in a week? Anybody knows? Why can't it be 5? Why can't it be 10? Why do we have 7 days in a week? Any guesses? Or why were days, I mean, the question which was asked is, why were days in a week invented? Why can't we live without having any days in a week? Why can't it just be like that? So it has something to do with commerce. So at commerce, essentially what happens? What is business? Somebody sells and somebody buys. So people needed a time to meet. Hey, I'm going to sell you this, you're going to buy this. But when are we meeting? So they had to invent something, and the days in a week were invented. And having 7 days in a week, starting from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, actually started somewhere in the 6th century BC by Babylonians in a place now which is the modern Iraq. It's an arbitrary number. The Babylonians liked it, so it can even be 5 or it can be 10. But it's not been changed for a long time. But then essentially, commerce helped inventing the days in a week. And when I was reading or researching a little more on the evolution of commerce, as you can see, it started with cattle trade between 10,000 and 5,000 BC. That's how all of us were doing commerce. Our ancestors were doing commerce like that. And then gold coins were invented. And from gold coins, we had early coins. And the paper currency was invented in 800, and the checks are relatively new, invented in late 1800s. As you can see, with the growth of money, commerce also grew. So one industry's growth leads to another industry growing. So money grew, and people invented different forms of money, and that really helped and enabled commerce. Commerce was invented, but then all of us are talking about e-commerce today, and this is Meet Magento Indonesia. Magento or Adobe Commerce is an e-commerce platform. So when was e-commerce invented? Well, we have a timeline. But one of the first inventors of e-commerce dates back to late 1970s or 1979, a person named Michael Aldrich. So he invented connecting the television to the telephone lines and making an order. And as we all know, the internet grew a lot in the 1990s. And with the internet, with the penetration of internet, we had Amazon, or books.com was even there even before Amazon, and all these companies started coming up. And because of that, what we live today is in an era of unified commerce. So the internet grew, e-commerce grew along with it. And even like Jeff Bezos said, the reason Amazon was able to be successful is because of the internet. And the shipping and logistics network was already set up, so it made it easy for him to ship product from one place to another. And what do we have today? We have a lot of platforms. We have Adobe Commerce, and then you have a lot of ERPs, because there are a lot of problems which need to be solved, and we make it more sophisticated, and new platforms get invented every day. And this also adds a lot of complexity to the way we work. And it also adds complexity to the customer. The customer really does not care how many platforms you use in your business. What the customer cares is about an integrated experience. What does the future look like? Let me share a personal story. I wanted to buy a refrigerator for my home, and I went to a store in Round Rock, Texas, which is a little north of Austin. And as you may know, Austin is one of the fastest growing cities in the world. So I went to this store called Home Depot to buy a refrigerator. I'm not an expert in buying refrigerators, so I had to take my time. I go to a shop. I spent like almost an hour and a half talking to different sales associates, doing my research. How does this work? How does that work? Is this going to last long? How does the warranty look like? So there were a lot of questions. I talked to him, and then I finally decided, hey, this is the refrigerator I'm going to get. And I was really excited, and I told the store associate, hey, this is the refrigerator I want to get. Let's place an order. And the store associate was also happy because he spent a lot of time with me, and he finally said, hey, okay, this guy has really decided to buy something. And then he checked, and he said, hey, unfortunately, I don't have this in stock. And that was a little frustrating. But then I wasn't too worried, because there was another Home Depot store about 4 miles from the current store where I was at. So I told him, not a big deal, because it's not like I'm going to pay to the store associate, and then I'm going to take the refrigerator in my car and go, right? So I'm going to pay, and they're going to ship the refrigerator and get it installed at my home. So I told him, not a problem. Why don't you place an order? You check if it's available in the other store, which is about 4 miles away, and I will just pay for it. And he told me, hey, unfortunately, I'm not able to check what's available in the other store. And the systems are not integrated, and I can't check the inventory of another store. Again, this is one of the largest retailers in the US, and then they're not able to, the inventories are not talking to each other, and they can't see what's in another store. And I spent like an hour and a half with this sales associate. I eventually decided to just walk across the street and buy the refrigerator, the same refrigerator from their competitor, Lowe's, and I bought it from them. But if the systems were integrated and if everything were talking to each other, I would have actually purchased the refrigerator from Home Depot. Not only is it a lost business for them, it's actually wasted time for me as a customer, and it was very frustrating. And I was also laughing at it because such a large retailer, this is how things work. And study shows that only 28% of the applications today in the different businesses we do are integrated. And this is not surprising considering the experience I had at Home Depot. And 80% of the interactions will be digital by 2025. All 80% of the B2B interactions will be digital by 2025. So it is clear that we need to provide an integrated commerce experience, no matter what you do. So let me share another story. This just happened a few months ago. I wanted to book some travel. So I used this site called MakeMyTrip.com, which is one of the largest travel websites in India. And I booked my flight and I paid for it. And the process of buying the product or buying the travel was seamless. But unfortunately, as it happens, my flight got cancelled. And then I had to call Make My Trip and I told them I booked a flight through MakeMyTrip.com and my flight is cancelled. So can you issue me a refund? So the associate I talked to looked at the details and he agreed that the flight was cancelled and he said, okay, I'm going to give you a refund and you'll get the refund processed in about a week. I was cool. But what happened after a week? As you know, I did not get the refund back. So I had to call them again. And when I called them, they said, unfortunately, they didn't get information from the airline. And the systems, again, were not talking to each other. And the person I talked to had to transfer me to another person. And that person had to transfer me to another person. And I'm sure this experience is very, very familiar with all of you. And it took me almost about 3 months to get the refund back. And this led me to ask this question. It's not that Make My Trip does not want to give me a refund. They owe me the money anyway. And it's not that the airline does not want to give me the refund. They owe me the money anyway. But then you got to make the process seamless. And how do you make the process seamless? You have to integrate your systems and you have to provide an integrated commerce experience for your customers. And talking about integrated commerce or reimagining commerce with integrated experiences, it's not just about technology. It's in everything you do. For instance, let's say a customer places an order on your website. The email he or she would get needs to tell a story. It needs to have your branding. It needs to be storytelling. Or if the customer gets an invoice, the invoice needs to tell a story. And that is an integrated experience as well. And essentially, what it does is it really escalates and elevates your brand and it increases the trust with your customers. And even David in his last session talked about integrating data for better ad spend. So what does the future look like? Data is the new oil. Everybody, David talked a lot about data. Data is the new oil. And what is the pipeline? The API is the pipeline. So any platform you get today has an API. So you need to leverage the API which you are getting and make sure that the systems talk to each other. And what is the need for unified commerce? It is obvious. They say the best way to predict the future is to create it. But then it's very, very obvious that unified commerce and unified experiences are the future. Because nobody wants to have a similar experience like I did with Make My Trip, where it takes me 3 months to get a refund. And let's say 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you buy something, you didn't get the desired experience, click of a button, money gets sent to your bank account. That's it. You don't like it, you get the money back. Or if it's a fault on the customer, you don't get the money back. So you have the processes in place. So it's a single system of truth. The biggest challenge we run into is if you have data in multiple places and if these data does not talk to each other, you don't know which is the right data. You don't know which is the right information. So having a single source of truth and reduced risk of errors. And essentially what you're doing is you're automating the entire business process. In the process of automating your business processes, you are saving a lot of effort from your customer service personnel. How many times we call customer service personnel and they tell us, I'm not able to help you, or you call back in the morning next day. Or, hey, you know what, I need to transfer you to another department. And you go talk to another department, you have to repeat the whole story again. Some companies, you have to spend like 4 or 5 hours on the phone with them. And studies have shown that with integrated experiences, you're able to increase order processing by 53%. Catalog management, like the process of buying a refrigerator, that increases as well. The efficiency increases. And the sales process increases by close to 30%. Like we like to say, it's not one or the other, it is everything together. So you want to make sure that the entire brand experience is communicated right from the first touch point, and like they talked about in the previous sessions, the lifetime value of the customer. So the entire lifetime of a customer, it needs to be a great experience. And that's what I want to share with you today. And I would like to thank all of you for coming. And this is just a small blurb about DCCAP. So we simplify commerce for distributors. We just started with 2 desks, 2 computers, and 2 people. We like to call ourselves as a community and not a company. And as you can see, we are very, very passionate about creating integrated experiences. And we also have the DCCAP integrator product. And it essentially, all it does is, as you can see, it's a plug and play. You drag and drop. And you provide the integrated experience to your customers this way. You have ERPs. You also have CRMs. And you have Magento. And all you need to do is get the data from one place, drag it, drop it, make sure the systems talk to each other. We are really excited about this. And I would like to thank you for coming again. And we also have break. So excited about it. And really enjoyed meeting all of you. It's awesome to be in Jakarta. Thank you. And Nandri. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Karthik. I think now we have moved to the Q&A session. Is there any questions here? Because I think I do agree that the frustration here, if there's no integrated solutions, that will be like very huge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any questions, guys, here? Or we can conclude for today's session. Okay, I think we can conclude for today's session, Mr. Karthik.